Hello everyone, welcome to the fifth episode of Wapplewood. Today it's just going to be PapaLlama and I, we don't have any guests. Day of release is going to be the 12th on this one. So, this episode we're going to be going a bit more for free flow, we're going to be trying out some new stuff. We don't have any sort of plans, we don't have anything beyond just a simple topic, which is games. Video games, board games, we're just going to talk about it. I'm more of a video game guy myself, but I do have some board games I love. And PapaLlama, from what he told me, is a massive board game guy, so let's hear about it. PapaLlama.
Yeah, board games, video games. I used to be bigger in the video games, but when you become a parent, the amount of time you can play video games, especially someone like me who really plays single-player video games nowadays, but previously played all the PvP stuff. I grew up with StarCraft 1, StarCraft 2, League of Legends, Dota 2, all that. I don't have time to be good at that anymore. Board games really fill the niche of being able to hang out with my friends and not having to actually be good at the game.
Definitely. I don't do board games particularly well for the opposite reason. I'm a young man. I'm not tied down with children. I don't have to worry about that sort of stuff, so I can spend the time I want. And I find video games to be a bit more my speed, but board games, it's hard finding people to play with because I have a competitive nature and a cutthroat nature. So when I play board games, it gets released in a manner that
I think that's based on who you play with, though. I do think that's seriously who you play with because, like, when I go play BattleTech at the game room, everybody wants to destroy each other. Like, they're there to win. Especially with the amount of time they invest into it, because they have to prep their loadouts and everything else. And then if you go play, and I have to admit, at one point in my life, I played Magic the Gathering. Please forgive me. But if you go play with those guys, nobody's being nice to you. It's when you're, like, at home and you're with people that for some reason don't want to try hard. Like, those people are the ones they think you should go easy on. Like, I have a friend, my childhood friend, will not play board games with married couples except for me and my wife. Because me and my wife will go out of our way to murder each other in a board game.
That's one of the things where if I play board games with people, I tend to play in a private setting, and meaning the first time I play, it's normally very fun. Then the second time we play, that people figure out what's going on, and I tend to be the one higher up on the kill list, if there is a kill list.
Everybody's getting the revenge on you for your in real life notes.
It's like an example would be there's a board game I played which is Machikoro, and then the game is
Machikoro.
I love it. Yeah, I love it. I'm great at it, but I'm great at it, so I introduced some people to it. First round, easy sweep, not even close. Second round, everybody targeted my strategies very precisely. They imitated what I did the first round, and they did everything they could do to stop me from doing that again. And it was like,
so you're good at the game, but not the diplomacy. That's what I'm hearing.
yeah, straight up. Have you played Killer Bunnies?
I have not played Killer Bunnies. It sounds like something I would play because I have a whole slew of games like Barking Kittens and Exploding Kittens and what is that? New Phone Who Dis. I'm actually looking at my shelf right now with all of my dorky games on there. Oh, I have Unstable Unicorns.
Yeah.
Llamas. There's a game called, where is it? It must be downstairs. It's called Llamas Unleashed. That's it. Made by the Unstable Unicorns people.
I've actually got a few of those. Killer Bunnies is nothing of the sort. It's a lot more. It's more complicated and it's more strategy based. One of the features of it is like Exploding Kittens. You play out of your hand. Killer Bunnies, you have what's called the run, and you have two cards that you have already played, but they won't take effect until in 2 turns. So you flip up the card from your run. That card gets played, then it takes effect, and then you draw, and then you put another card into your run.
So you and everybody else sees the run?
The run's private, it's secret. Nobody's allowed to look at it.
Okay. I was wondering if it was public, because that would be nifty.
Yeah, but it's private, and you don't get to look at it even if you forget. So you have to plan for in 2 rounds, and a lot of the stuff is instant, and you have to have bunnies, as it were. And you want to kill the other guy's bunny, but the method of winning is there's 12 carrots, and then at the end of the game, once all 12 carrots leave the shop, the game ends, and then there are 12 carrot cards, and one of them's drawn at random, and whoever had that carrot wins. So there's no way to guarantee your win unless you get all of the guys.
Okay. Yeah, that's different, but similar to things like Unicorns and Llamas Unleashed. Like Llamas Unleashed, the goal is to have, like, if you have the 5 llamas out, or there's a card that lets you, if you have one of each llama type out, you win.
Ooh, yeah. The exploding bunnies. Sorry, exploding kittens. If you have all 5 of the little cards, you can pull stuff out of the discard pile. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not keen on exploding kittens.
Really? It's a great party game, and there is a whole meta to it.
It's a great party game. There's a meta to it. I just feel it's a bit crass. I'm not enthusiastic about it. It's got a vibe I don't like. I do have a bit of a temperament in this regard. I'm not very keen on all of it, but it's just one of those little. It's not. If I had the option between playing exploding kittens, poker, or nothing, I would pick poker, and then I would pick nothing. But that's because my family, we really like poker to the point that we had a family poker set. And then after dinner, we would go into the basement, get out a briefcase full of cards and like actual chips, and then play poker.
That's actually a good family activity because you just sit there and talk for a long time.
And the thing is that, and also another thing is that we would play different styles of poker, and whoever would rotate, and then we decide which style of poker we play every round. We wouldn't go 2 rounds of the same of a certain style of poker. But some of us liked. My father was very fond of 5-card hold'em, but I'm not. And my mother liked think of Santaconda. So we'd go around in a circle, and depending on whose turn it was, the style would differ. And then because of the style, you'd have to play differently, and you'd be more bold or apprehensive in your betting, and it was really spiced up the game.
That actually sounds kind of fun. I mean, that sounds like the kind of thing you want to do. Board games are supposed to be a group activity. That's part of why I've leaned into them more as a parent, because you're supposed to engage your family. Not that video games can't be, but they're not quite the same.
Yeah. The right now, as of time of recording, and as of my personal opinion, War Thunder is currently sweeping CDD, Vintage, and
I've seen you recruiting people in there.
Yeah, Vintage and Lady Mage started. Well, Lady Mage downloaded it yesterday. Vintage started playing yesterday, and it's one of those things where, like, video games like War Thunder specifically, that's unfortunately, as much as I love the game, and I've got 1,400 hours in that game, I love it, but that's not a game you get new people into easily. That's a game where you have to kind of, like, get them hooked. They grow, and then once they grow, then it's easier to play with people. But you have to get them through, like, the early stage, and
yeah. All I know about War Thunder are the memes, and I used to be in this, other Discord server that totally doesn't exist, completely unrelated to this one. People I know in real life, and they would I knew they were in there because I would join the voice chat and I would ask them what they're doing, and all they would shout is "Tonk, tonk, tonk." I was okay. War Thunder, got it.
Yeah, I've noticed the CDD players tend to like the tanks more than the planes, which I appreciate. I'm a flight sim guy, but I am not good at dogfighting.
I have a friend, one of my friends who plays War Thunder. He argues with me all the time about the effectiveness of a tank versus a battle mech.
Ooh,
because he has a fair point in that the problem with a battle mech is that it's too tall. Like a tank would be a better, like a futuristic tank would be a better field vehicle than a battle mech on 2 legs with 2 arms.
Here's the question: Are we arguing a 1v1, or are we arguing towards the greater war effort?
I think he was. I mean, I obviously want the battle mechs, but I think he was arguing just towards the usefulness in combat on a tactical level.
Yeah, I think he's right here. Because think about it this way: a battle mech, it's got legs. I know horses. I know humans. Their legs break a lot. Look at all those joints, look at all those bones. You don't want your military stuff breaking. That's the benefit of tanks, is that if they break, they're on the ground. Their treads are really easy to replace, or unless you have like a major issue, will normally keep working. And if a tank stops working, great. Now you have an immediate entrenched field artillery. The
Well,
Germans
if
actually
a
at
mech
some
falls
point,
over, you can still shoot. I'm just saying, it still's got a gun. If
I
especially if
mean,
it's got a in BattleTech, actually, if you fall over and you've got a gun on your arm, depending on which side you fall over on, you can use the arm that's still in the air.
yeah, but that's also on an arm, and arms are finicky, they break. Like, but if can you like here's an example: the Germans near when they were really badly losing, at some point they would just start burying tanks in the ground, keeping
That's
just the
pretty good.
turret above ground. And I think that's something that a battle mech can't do.
I've never heard that. That's amazing. You're right about they couldn't do that. Just bury a tank in the ground and like let the turret roll around. That's
Hmm.
hilarious.
This when you look at more modern armored doctrines, there's been a shift that the pilots, move not out of the turret, but into the hull more, and the turret has really, really good armor, and then the hull doesn't. So there's what's called hull down, where you have your hull behind an embankment, and then the turret above. And the turret has like armor to the point that you can't penetrate it. It's like almost a full meter of armor. That's nothing's getting through that on the turret, and the hull you can't shoot at. So you have a big cannon that you can't touch, but the cannon can touch you to like 4 kilometers out. That's not something people are going to be able to deal with. But
That's
I don't
fair.
think you can do that with a Valak. And if you're like
I
going to like dig a really deep trench and just wave the arms above the trench.
Yeah. It definitely it's definitely got its weaknesses, but
Hmm.
I love the fantasy setting of it or the sci-fi setting of it all.
Yeah, I
I do
think.
think that it's interesting that in BattleTech they still have tanks and tanks are very
Mhm.
powerful. They even have aircraft units, which is really they're my least favorite portion of the game because they're so effective.
This is the sort of thing which War Thunder players complain about constantly. Is that until you get to most points of the game, the American vehicles kind of suck. I mean, yes, there's a Sherman 76, and like that's great, and so is the Jumbo, but the Jumbo's there. But the thing that the Americans have that the other countries really don't is that the Americans have amazing close air support. So you shoot a German tank, the German goes, ah, they try to dive bomb you with a Stuka, they probably miss. But if you shoot an American tank, the Americans can go, how dare you, and then drop a 2,000 pound bomb on your head. What are you going to do about that?
You're gonna blow up. Boom.
Yeah, and it's like, that's one of the big things about tanks that I think the mech may have on it, is that mechs are more modern. They have like guided missile that can make an arc. Doesn't, like as I said with the hold down thing, with armor on the front of the tank, not on the top. You can hit it from the top. A mech could do that. I'm not sure about a tank doing that.
I have seen there are mechs. There's one called the Rifleman, and it's got rifles
Hmm.
instead of arms, and they're long range rifles, and so it can just literally like flip them 180 degrees backwards and just fire off in any direction. It's pretty fun.
Ooh. Any artillery mechs?
Oh, of course.
Mm.
There's one called the King Crab, which has two absolutely giant PPCs, which if I remember correctly is like it's a something particle cannon. And it is literally looks like a crab on two legs. Like it would be my friend who's an engineer told me that thing can't stand up in real life. But it has just it's got big pinchers and in the middle of the pincher it has a PPC on each side. And all it does is fire, and the thing is slow as sin. So
Yeah,
we are really quickly turning this into the war history podcast
mm,
episode. We should
yeah,
probably transition away from that one real fast. All
yeah.
right, you talked about let's transition away from that as well. I'm having fun with this. Don't get me wrong, but we should. I can feel we might be losing our audience here. Let's
Hmm.
talk. Let's talk. You talked about the stuff you did with your family.
Hmm.
The game that my wife and I, Mrs. Lama and I, play all the time is
Hmm.
Battleship. It's simple,
Ooh.
and there's enough variation in it that nobody can win every time. There's enough
Battleship is
randomness.
Battleship is a game that I'm kind of about because I get the. Have you read Tintin?
It has been a long time, but I bet you Mrs. Lama knows it.
All right. There's a character in Tintin who's a not upstanding fellow, and on his his private plane, he has a setup where he'd play Battleship with someone. But in the table on his side, there's a screen, and behind the other guy there's a camera.
Of course.
Yeah, and he would just cheat while playing Battleship, and it's one of those things where Battleship is a simple game,
Yes,
and it's one that's
exactly.
really prone to like, oops, you're wearing reflective glasses and you've lost the game.
Yeah, but see, I think at least when Mrs. Llama and I play, we're always there to play with each other and have fun. We're not actually. I mean, we want to win. I want to win, but I want to do it the right way.
Yeah.
So I don't think. I mean, we never look for it. We take care to make sure that like if we have to walk around the table, they can we can hide our pieces and everything. What is the best part about BattleTech is you can take it everywhere. I have taken it all over the country, like on planes and everything else, and to all these different pubs. And people just think it's a hoot for us to sit down at a table in a faraway city and play BattleTech with each other. They just think
Battletech
it's
or Battleship?
my bad. Battleship.
Okay, yeah.
No, I wouldn't take BattleTech anywhere. That's way too hard. I would need an entire like suitcase for that. No, no, but
Uh,
Battleship, yeah, it's simple. Sometimes the simple games have a time and a place. It's really cool to play all the complicated games and do all that, but sometimes you just want to be able to pop something up and be done in 15 minutes.
this is actually one of the games that I have. I actually have a few games of that variety. One of my favorite, well, these two are actually related to each other. They're made by the same company. They're called Love Letter and Lost Legacy. And the way they're different games. They're both card games, like 16 cards total, and they come in a little pouch that you can slip in your pocket.
That's cool.
And
Pouches.
yeah, and there's there's a bunch of different cards, and the cards have different effects. And I have Lost Legacy in my hand, so I'm going to explain how that one works. There's at most 3 of any type of card, and you can memorize exactly each card says on it how many of them there are, and they have a number. So you know how many cards there are in rotation. And there's one special card called the Lost Legacy. And whoever knows where this card is at the end of the game wins. However, the best way to win is to murder the other guy. And there's a bunch
That's
of
always
different...
the best way to win.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of different ways to murder the other guy. And in the Starship pack, because there are a bunch of different variations, there's a few major routes to murdering the other guy. The first route is a card called the Shadow Thief, where you just push the win state further. And then the next one is the really big part, which is called the Sneak Attack, where if they look at your hand, they die. And if they die, you would typically win the game if it's just 2 of you. So most of the game is based around, can I look at the other guy's hand right now or not? And if you suspect that the other guy has the sneak attack, you can attack them with a special card that would kill them only if they have the sneak attack. But there's only one of that card, so you have to be very careful about it. And most of the game is sitting there playing mind games with each other. And I love it. I may come across poorly.
That sounds exactly like something you'd love.
Wow. But yeah, I'm fond of the games which require psychological messing about. Cood's another one that's up my alley.
Okay, I think the most psychological game we've played in our circle recently has been Secret Hitler.
I've heard of it, haven't played it.
Yeah, I mean, you could call it anything. I think they did that for the shock factor, but it's a really fun game where one group of people is the fascists and one group of people is the liberals, and I think it's liberals. I can't even remember at this point. But when I first heard it, I was like, this is going to be awful. It's going to be politicized, but it's not. And one person is like secretly Hitler, and the other, so there's a couple other people trying to catch him. And the goal is to figure out who are the fascists and who are Hitler before they're capable of voting in a bunch of fascist policies. And you can do that by picking out who's Hitler and assassinating him, or by you can reach a point in the game where the fascists can no longer achieve the number of policies they need to win.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a really good game because it brings out, because so many people play it so differently, and you can have a whole group of people in there, and somebody will be used to playing it with another group of people, so they'll have different perceptions of what people are trying to accomplish or what they're trying to do. So I recommend it. It's a very fun game, and it's good in a party because you can learn it in 5 minutes.
That does sound fun. It reminds me of Mafia.
Yeah, it's close to Mafia for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, the werewolf games are so much fun in a party. My cousin, who I turned into a nerd, he just went to college. He just finished his second year, actually, or he's in his second year.
Good
He's
game.
got the werewolf games, and it's super fun.
The I'd play the werewolf game at parties. Well, Mafia normally, but this is kind of a bit shameful to admit. I am an exceedingly good liar to the point that, like, even if you're looking like very carefully at my face and eyes, you won't notice any difference. But inversely, I'm very good at telling when other people are lying. And there was a moment that I looked across the room, saw the glint in my friend's eye, and immediately knew that they were Mafia. And then the next round, I was Mafia. So I had to make up a justification to the party. Why, oh, I couldn't see a glint in anyone's eye this time, but oh, that's normal and that's fine. Because I definitely am not the Mafia, as I am quickly trying to murder everyone who is being suspicious.
You seem like the type of person who would get falsely murdered in a game like Mafia all the time.
Uh,
Like
I
everybody would
remember,
just be suspicious of you naturally speak. Like just naturally be like, nope, it's Jerma. We just get rid of him now, so we don't have to worry about it later.
but when we play CDD Among Us, I would always win. Because normally what would happen is I would just shut up and everyone else would accuse each other. And because I'm quiet and I'm just murdering people in the background, I'm letting people spiral and I like poke a bit. And normally they vote out all of their friendly crewmates, and I'm just like, oh boy, oh no, what a tragedy. Because I make sure I have an alibi, and as long as I'm not caught with my hand on the corpse, I normally get away with it.
Okay. Yeah. Usually, if you're quiet and you don't, people aren't paying attention to you, then they'll leave you alone.
hmm It's
So.
actually it's actually that sort of Among Us mind games is how I got my username I use for a lot of stuff. Not Red. Because I would name myself Not Red, and then I would pick Red because
Makes
I'm
sense.
I'm psychotic like that, and it would always trip people up because I could just play word games with them, and I would waste time, and then they wouldn't end up voting me out.
It's funny.
However, it looks like we're approaching the end of our time set, so
Yeah.
I'll let you lead us out this episode.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to say there's a whole bunch of stuff you can do, but at this point, we should be when this is releasing on January 12th. We should be 2 days into the Novena for Life, which I hope that the members of this server have been participating in. I will be participating in it. I would recommend that if you aren't, this is a great time to start. You know,
hmm
any prayer is good prayer. So continue on with your Novena for Life, guys. You're gonna get another podcast from us at the end of the month,
hmm
and then I miss all you guys because I'm in the middle of Exodus 90, but I'll be back at the end of March.
Don't worry, we may be having special news briefs for PapaLlama to fill him in on all the happenings while he's gone. But on
Yeah,
that
yeah.
note,
No, everybody needs to not get banned until I come back. Nobody's allowed to be here, like not here anymore.
no bans, no marriages, no promotions, no firing. Like, keep your life perfectly normal for PapaLlama for the next 90 days. That's
Yeah,
all we're
just put it
asking.
in stasis. Just put it in
Yeah,
stasis.
put
Stay
it
the
in
same.
stasis. Well, on that note, I'm Jerma.
And I'm Papa Llama.
Thanks for watching.